Hello, magical people, and welcome back to the As Above, So Below show here on the Beyond Mystic channels. My name's Meg Moonbeam, and I'm here with Ashala Yardley. Ashala, how's it going?
Hi, everyone. It's going well. Happy to be here. Thank you, Meg.
Very happy to be here too, and happy Gemini season, Ashala. It is your B-Day season.
It is
Very
my
exciting.
birthday season. Yeah, my birthday's
Yes.
in 9 days. And wow, there's just a lot to share about Gemini. I feel like I have curated the best aspects of this sign and really had to process through the weak
Yeah.
aspects of it. So if we want to talk about that at some point, we can.
I would love to talk about that for sure. And it's going to be a very powerful Gemini season, as we'll get
Mm.
into. So, welcome, 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 everyone. We've got Tucson, Arizona in the house. Hello, Tucson, Arizona, and Hamilton. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And we're going to go over our collective energies with the tarot and astrology at the moment. And before we get into that, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Beyond Mystic channels. And also, Ashal and I both offer one-on-one readings over at the Beyond Mystic Consultations page. You can check that out in the description box below. How have the readings been going, Ashala? Are there any themes that you've been noticing lately or questions you've been getting a lot from people?
Yeah, the readings have been really, really potent. I mean, what I've noticed is that there is a lot of, I want to say, ancestral, past life, spirit guide, deceased loved ones coming in
Oh,
lately.
wow.
Yeah, lots of support from other dimensions, let's just put it that way. More so than usual, I feel.
Wow. Okay, that's very interesting that you're saying that. How long has it been that you've been feeling that, Ashala?
I wanna say, actually probably this month, Meg, like
Mhm.
this over the last, yeah, 3 weeks maybe?
That is so interesting because I personally went for a walk this morning. And on my walk, I got the message spiritually. I heard spirit say, like, you need to make time during these walks to receive messages from deceased loved ones that might be coming through for clients that I have later in the day with the astrology readings. And I was like, really? Okay. I just want to go for a walk, but okay. So that's an interesting synchronicity that you're saying. And for me, that's something that comes like unexpectedly when I do my readings. For you, Ashala, is that something that you can just like do on demand, psychic mediumship?
I can do it on demand. I prefer to let it come in naturally,
Yeah.
and the reason for that is that, I feel like it's not always necessary or super helpful, like, there's certain times where it's really ideal, you know?
Mm,
And that's the times that it comes in. But if people are
right.
wanting, especially to know about a deceased loved one, even a pet that's crossed over, I'm happy to tune in and
Yeah.
receive insights from them. And I almost always get beautiful information, accurate information, and information that is supportive.
Yeah, I love that. That is beautiful. And also, Shala, we've currently got your dowsing workshop at a 50% off discount code this week. Pendulum 101. You guys can use the code dowsing50, all in one word, to get 50% off. And for those who are maybe new to the channel, Ashala, or seeing you for the first time, do you want to give a little explanation what the heck dowsing is?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
dowsing is basically accessing, like, if we acknowledge that our higher self is really available to us through our subconscious intuition, and therefore our higher self and our subconscious intuition has access to information, to accurate predictions and accurate, I want to say, synchronicity and connection to our environment. And
Hmm.
so people often think, oh, when we hold a pendulum or dowsing rods, we're tuning into spirits in the area and they are moving the rods or they're moving the pendulum. It's actually these very, very, very tiny movements of our
Hmm.
own bodies and hands that are creating just the right sort of frequency to move things in a particular way that we've already indicated. This is going to be yes, this is going to be no, this is going to mean this if it goes this way and
Mhm.
that if it goes that way, and so on. So it's an opportunity basically for our higher self, our subconscious intuition, deep knowing, deep awareness to access and connect us with that knowing, with that information. Where if we go in consciously and try to retrieve it, it's going to get kind of bungled up with all of
Right.
our programming and our logical mind analysis and so on. So it's just a really great way to bypass that and get straight to your intuition.
Mhm. I love that. That's amazing. So you guys can go check out Ashala's dowsing workshop over at the Beyond Mystic Academy. And before we get into maybe doing a collective tarot card pull on where we're at the moment, any messages from the universe, how are you feeling, Ashala, just overall with the energies since we've spoke last week?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to take in.
Hmm.
And I have been particularly, I don't know if it's just this time of year. We have a lot of outdoor yard work and home maintenance stuff that we've been doing. And then I've been very, very, very book solid with sessions, and I'm in
Hmm.
production with courses. So it has felt the demands of where we're at right now and all that needs
Yeah.
to be doing, and I'm trying to keep up with all my personal protocols because it feels important to hold good energy. I have
Mm,
never felt so stretched, Meg. I feel
really?
literally like, yeah, I'm just like, but Gemini season.
Oh my God.
Like, for those of us that try to do it all, and how many things can we fit in one day? This is where I
Right.
find my Gemini self going, oh yeah, okay. If I told other people what I thought I was going to get done in a day and what I try to make happen and sometimes succeed in, they would just be like, you're crazy.
Mm, yeah.
So I think it is, I'm feeling that
Yeah.
Gemini energy,
Wow.
and it's very important. Like, we want to be able to work with the capacity to have all that diverse perspective and all those pots cooking on the stove at the same time, plates juggling in the
Mhm,
air and so on, but
mhm.
also to notice where we can just get deep, like overwhelmed, way and over our heads so easily, burnout, basically.
Mm. I love that you're bringing this up, and yeah, I have the same thing too, where I write all these things out in my calendar. I have a crazy some of you guys may laugh. I have a written out calendar, very Gemini. I've got my South Node in Gemini. So I'm coming from recent lives where it was, all Gemini, and now I'm in my North Node in Sagittarius. And funny enough, I actually find it really comforting to write out like my schedule. That's like very kind of therapeutic for me in a weird sounding way. And I write down all these things. Okay, today I'm going to do all these things, and this is what my schedule is. Usually I don't get them all done in a day. And there reaches a certain point where I've really been feeling lately like I need to stop and
Yeah.
just sit on the couch and sit with my cats and have a drink, not an alcoholic drink, water or tea, and just stop and just be in the current energy and be in the present moment.
Mm.
I've been feeling that very strong the past few weeks in particular.
Yeah,
So yeah, maybe it's
that's interesting. And I mean, we were talking earlier about Jens's workshop on discernment, and what I've noticed helps me to be able to have the capacity to hold all of this diverse stuff that's being asked of us in these times,
mhm,
so that we can really show up and do our very best with what's going on.
yeah,
I've noticed that I'm actually using my pendulum every day, and that when I do use it to help me even discern my
mhm,
list and what order of things, and maybe that thing is no, even though you think you should get it done today, it's not looking good. And then I
right.
even do it like the order, or is this morning, afternoon, evening, and that has actually helped me feel more spacious.
Mm, I love that. That's amazing. Should we maybe pull some cards, Ashala, on Should we ask, like, today's the first day of Gemini season, what we can expect as we enter into this Gemini season? How can we work with the energies?
Definitely.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Okay, these are great, 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 great cards. So 9 of Pentacles, the Sovereign, and there is a little bit of staying in your own lane with this. Really, also not necessarily racing off to start a whole bunch of new stuff. And I think I was actually, Meg, come to think of it, I think I was actually dreaming about doing things like repeating, doing something over again and doing it over again.
Wow.
And then just as I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, I should tell Meg about this because it's all the it's all the retrogrades and stuff, right?
Right.
That we're going through. Um, but this feels like it is a lot about like focus on continuing to step into what you already are.
Mm,
Like, not to really try to, like, start a whole bunch of new stuff, but to
yeah,
really deepen, um, like, complete things around what you've already started. Now that's a real big trick for Geminis, right? Because
right.
that's one of our Achilles heels is that we start all these things and we don't finish half of them. And
Mhm.
so there feels like a little whisper of, like, honor yourself by staying in line with, and even if you have to go back and finish up things that you started before, that feels really good.
Mhm. Right.
And yeah, like there's really a sense of presence here with that sun in the center. So
Mm,
being very, very exactly what you were just saying, doing a lot of mindfulness and a lot of being in the present moment, not living in the future.
mhm.
And then this is also a little bit of holding what you've already got. It's called hold the
Mm,
ground. So
right.
what he's defending with the 7 of Wands is what's already been we've already we're up on the high ground. We already have the high ground, so we're holding that. And instead of going, "Oh, I'm in a holding pattern and I'm not evolving, I'm not, or things out in the world aren't moving fast enough," really
Mhm.
honor the strength and how awesome we're doing at holding the line. It's gonna be
Wow.
important.
I love that. That's amazing. And thank you, Ashala. We've got Michelle in the chat says, is there something in the energy that causes clumsiness? We are tripping over nothing and dropping things. Is that something that you've been finding for yourself personally, Ashala, or not so much?
Um, Not so much, but what I'm feeling about that, it's a lot about what we're talking about with this
Mhm.
presencing and, staying really in the moment, in the current reality, and not
Right.
living too much in the future. I mean, this is interesting. It is about the past, because the nines are synthesis numbers. They're where we go and we gather up all the things. And it's almost like with the 9 of Pentacles, you're saying, "Oh, like, if I actually gather up all that I've started, I'm full, like, I have a lot. I have a lot on my
Mhm.
plate, or I have a lot to be thankful for, and I can enhance what I'm already doing as opposed to
Yeah.
starting something new." Um, so again, I feel that with the clumsiness or being sort of out of sync, it's a reminder to stay present.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Not over force ourselves or over exert ourselves if it feels really unnatural. Even if we have like that list of things we want to do in the day, listening to our bodies, like that Nine of Pentacles, earth element being in the body as well. Beautiful and interesting. Yeah, Carol says, "Oh my gosh, yes, all weekend," to what the other lady was saying here, Michelle. Michelle's comment on the clumsiness. Not, I haven't been noticing that either, Shala, but it does make me think about how Gemini is a sign that is very fast. It's very hyperactive. It's very energetic. And I notice when we've got a lot of Gemini influence, it's almost like a Mercury retrograde a little bit, in the sense of not that everything's bad and challenging, but in the sense of there's so much going on. I find Gemini to be a very busy sign. Like there's always something happening with Gemini, to where, our focus is over here, but then we forgot about that thing over here. And then we dropped the plate, and then the phone, we forgot about that messenger. It's very, yeah, Debster says mercurial, right? So not necessarily in a bad way, but there is a hyperactivity to Gemini. It's about stimulation. It's total mental and nervous system stimulation as well. And you're our resident Gemini here on Beyond Mystic. And this Gemini season is very, very special. Gemini season officially started at 2:54 p.m. Eastern time today. So we're officially in it. And it's a special Gemini season because not just the sun in Gemini, but Jupiter in Gemini as well. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, right? And Jupiter is at his detriment sign in Gemini, but even when Jupiter is in Gemini or his false sign of Capricorn, it's Jupiter at the end of the day. It's not really that bad. It's the great benefic planet, right? So Jupiter's at home in Sagittarius and Pisces. Gemini is the opposite sign to Sagittarius. That's why he's at detriment. And so Jupiter expansion, he expands whatever he's touching, right? We've been in this Gemini energy actually since May of last year. We've been in this kind of information overload, lots of truths being revealed, right? Podcasters, speakers, information being shared, Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. And this is going to be a very, I'm going to use the word exaggerated Gemini season. We're really going to feel the energy of this Gemini season and all the things that Gemini entails with the sun, Jupiter, and we'll end up also having Mercury come into Gemini. From now until June 9th, when Jupiter goes into Cancer, because that'll happen soon, it's the Gemini vibes all around. So, Ashala, as our resident Gemini, do you want to explain a little bit from your perspective? First of all, what does Gemini mean to you? Like, what is the sign of Gemini about for you as a Gemini?
Wow, what a great question. Um, for me, it is about being in everywhere at once. It is about
Mm,
having an incredibly diverse perspective. And part of that is because there's a noticing and a gathering and a synthesizing of data and information, not deep synthesizing, but a surface level enough, sort of like programming, a programmable sort of, where does this go, right? Like I
mhm,
gathered all this information, that goes in that pocket, this goes in that file, this goes here. And you could say, well, what is that all for? It's useless. Like
right.
why bother? It's just like trivial data, right?
Mhm,
But what happens is it allows us, because it's almost like we have access to it all the time, it allows us to at any moment suddenly have these whole big picture revelations because we've connected a bunch of dots. So we have that kind of data processing system where we can suddenly see patterns. We have a sense of something. We can just notice a lot of information and line up the details. So that's part of the strength. Of
mm,
course, it's very challenging for the
right.
people around us. It's very challenging for us too, because it seems like we're constantly changing our minds. We're constantly,
Mm,
shifting our focus, as you were saying. It's very fast. It's very like mentally nervous system stimulating.
right.
And so I tell people, I was actually married to a Gemini for over a decade as well, so I
Oh my
really
goodness.
know the Gemini dilemma. And I tell people, if you have a Gemini loved one in your life, to acknowledge, they're going to go all over the place, especially
Mhm,
when they're younger. They're going to do this unconsciously. They're going to have a million ideas and go in 10 directions at once and
mm,
constantly be changing their minds and dropping things.
right.
And What's hard for Geminis is if you tell them, "Oh, you're never gonna do that. You never do anything you say," because you just don't know. At any moment, 10 years from now, they've been gathering stuff on whatever that thing is that they dropped. They've got a file, trust me, and they're
Right.
still putting stuff in that file for the next 10 years, and all of a sudden, that thing can be on the front burner, totally relevant, and they walk out the door and create it in a heartbeat. They can create a whole system, they can design a whole project in a night, and people are like, "Where did you pull that out of?" And it's because they've held that file. They
Mhm.
don't throw anything away
Right.
in the information realm, right? So what I tell people that are dealing with Geminis is I say, "Plug your ears, smile, and nod your head, and say, 'That sounds awesome. That sounds wonderful.'" You don't
Right.
discourage them because they may use that, whatever it is, someday. But in terms of getting attached to what they're actually gonna do, you watch what they do. So
Mm.
you listen, you nod your head, you smile, you say, "That sounds wonderful, awesome, what a great idea." But you don't get attached that they're gonna do it when they say they are.
Right.
You just watch, "Oh, no, they're not doing it right now."
I love that. That's such a good way of explaining Gemini,
Thank
for sure.
you.
And it is an air sign, right? It's a mutable air sign in Western
Mhm.
astrology. So it's very adaptable, it moves, it's open to change, it's open to new concepts, it's open to learning, it's very curious. What do you think is like the biggest misunderstandings about Gemini? Because I feel like Gemini, your sun sign, Scorpio, my sun sign, also Virgos. I feel like another mercurial ruled sign with Gemini. I feel like these are the signs that get kind of the worst rap, right? What do you feel like is misunderstood about the sign?
That we're superficial.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people say that we're superficial, and I think that's because we talk about everything and we don't really know deeply about a lot of things, but again, it's sort of like
Mhm.
trying to use one particular kind of tool for the wrong purpose. It's
Right.
like it might be superficial in the specialization short term, but you definitely want Geminis that have been gathering information for a long time on your team because they will see the patterns as they emerge. They will be able to spot what's coming, and they'll
Mhm.
actually be able to put a lot of pieces together that other people don't think.
Yeah.
What's the relevance? But they can connect a lot of things.
Mm.
So the superficiality is one thing. It's funny, I used to be late for everything Gemini, and that's a common thing that Geminis are often
Right.
late. And I tell people, and you fellow Geminis can chime in here, the reason we're late is because we hate to sit there and do nothing. Because
Mm.
if we arrive somewhere and we even are sitting for like 2 minutes, all we're thinking of is all the five things we could have done with that 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine? I mean, it's a little bit torturous,
I
but,
love it.
and then, of course, because we're doing 5 more things than probably could humanly be possibly done in that 15 minutes to get there or whatever,
Mhm.
we're often late. But that is something I
Wow.
trained myself out of that unfortunate Gemini habit many years
Yeah.
ago, so thankfully.
I love that, and yeah, you're right, Gemini does have a rap of being superficial, right? That can be one of the shadow sides, but I notice actually Geminis, even though it can be scattered in the challenging aspect of it, I find Geminis to be very discerning because Gemini rules truth, facts, right? And common sense. So
Mm.
one of the strengths of Gemini is you guys want the facts. You guys want the proof based off the common sense or the actual facts. So, you take in the information not just because somebody else said that, but you're the sign that rules facts and common sense. So if something isn't rooted in a discerning fact, then you guys will just throw that out the window right away. Does that make sense?
It does, and the reason we're able to discern like that is because we see the discrepancies in the pattern,
Right.
and that is that gathering of a lot of data, and, the other thing that's often, like, it might look like Geminis are indecisive. That's another part, similar to Libra, right? We
Mhm.
are often characterized as being fickle. We change our minds. We're
Right.
very indecisive. And I had a Gemini friend once, and she said, "Don't you just hate it when you're indecisive and someone comes along and tells you how simple it is to solve your thing? They're just going to give you the right information." And you're like, dude, if you only knew, I could write a PhD thesis on what you just told me. I researched that like 10 years ago. I've gone
Wow.
back over it 3 times. I've seen the alternative of that. Like that's, you know, meanwhile, it looks like we're just befuddled and muddling around, but we're actually processing all these different truths, all the
Mhm.
data we've gathered. It is a little tricky for us to make decisions because we've got so much to
There's
weed
so much.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Tree Huggers for Trump says, "Geminis have computer brains." Yeah, Geminis are extremely intelligent. That you guys have amazing memory, typically highly, highly intelligent, and amazing at communicating the truth about things or information that you're learning and taking in. Could we maybe pull some cards, Ashala, on discernment during this Gemini season? Is this something that's going to be really important? Are we going to get a mix of major truths with maybe major not truths? It's interesting because Gemini is things doubled, right? Or the two sides of things. So with so much excess Gemini, is it going to be truths and misinformation where discernment is needed?
Oh, that's one more thing I want to say that
Yeah.
I feel is a great strength of Gemini is that we actually, especially a more evolved Gemini, we don't often fully say we believe one side or the other.
Mm.
We're always waiting for more data. And it's
Right.
not that we don't believe, it's like what we do is we're always saying more will be revealed. And we're not scared of that. Like we
Mhm.
actually welcome that because there's
Right.
always, you can always, yeah, enhance what you already know is what I'm hearing. So that feels like that could be very relevant for everyone during this
Right.
Gemini season. And even with the discernment, it's maybe helpful to not have to go like, even if you don't know 100% accurately, this is the 100% truth. You can use your discernment based on all that you've put together so far, but
Mhm.
always leave a portion open for
Right.
new information. And then
Yeah.
it's like we're better able, I think, to pivot and make choices as things unfold, and we're not as anxious about new information coming in. So
Mhm.
let's look at how that is going to play out for, oh, wow, such good
Mm.
cards. Discernment. Yeah, it's almost like I'm getting both. It's half like instincts and a feeling like it's going to
Mhm.
be fantastic. And that in that regard, Gemini is also actually not bad at using our intuition because we are never, even though we seem very logically focused, we are never 100% um, attached to
Right.
any truth or version of the truth. We're always like, yeah, I'm pretty sure because I see the big picture of this, but I'm always waiting for for
Mhm.
more. So being able to tap in with your feelings,
Right.
um, and always leaving a route. I'm really being drawn down to this, the water flowing out of this vessel that the
Mm.
Star Maiden is holding. Always leave several different routes for your information to come in on. So, you know, black and white absolute thinking where you're like, if new information comes in, you
Yeah.
can't adjust because you haven't made any space for anything outside of that narrative,
Mhm.
because you're too afraid that if something comes in that isn't exactly in that narrative, well, is it going to crumble? And, it's almost like little micro adjustments. We get closer to real truth when we don't have to be in the black and white of it, is what I'm hearing.
Right. Mhm.
Um, wow. Okay. And choices, recognizing the power of choice, and this feels like it has to do with choice and commitment. So again,
Mm.
we don't have to choose forever, right?
Right.
Like discernment can be, I'm making this choice right now based on the information I have, but I'm going to be willing to change my mind down the road
Mhm.
and feel safe in that, everybody. Feel comfortable in that. Um,
Mhm.
it feels like what I'm hearing is, you know, it's like putting on our big people pants. Like, we can do this. We can be comfortable with things shifting a bit. Like, obviously, if the narrative completely flips and everything we know is wrong or whatever, that is too much.
Yeah.
But to leave some room to pivot, because this is a lot about choice, to leave some room to pivot with your information and leave space for it to be. Look at that. Another six. So six in
Mhm.
the lovers and the six of wands. It's harmony,
Yeah.
harmonic connection. Um, so again, feeling in the body, in the emotions, through your discernment. This is really like, we don't see any swords here,
Mhm.
which is the mental, the mind. This is
Right.
all emotional and energetic and physical in the energy body.
Mm.
Mhm.
Wow. That is so interesting, and 2 major arcanas.
Two major arcanas. So
Very, very interesting.
we're gonna get help, and even I feel like, we'll see ourselves differently by the end of this season. There's,
Mm.
and look at the nakedness here.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of naked cards in the tarot, there are some, but
Right.
2 out of 3, a vulnerability, a trust, they're
Mhm.
well aspected. So it's safe to
It's safe.
trust yourself,
Yep.
your own discernment. Mhm.
That's beautiful, and could we maybe pull some clarifiers on the information that's gonna be coming out? Is it gonna be a whole myriad of different themes, or are there specific areas of life that big information is gonna come out in regards to?
Mm.
Ooh.
Okay, so, yeah, interesting. Sort of a feeling here around relational stuff and betrayal.
Mhm.
So, like information about people's personal lives, maybe, and uh, yeah, betrayal and people's like emotional manipulation in their
Mhm.
relationships. So we could see that kind of, on the front page news,
Right.
the trials that we've seen lately. Like, it feels like
Mhm.
there's a lot more even around, yeah, betrayal in relationships.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. And we haven't done in a while, Ashala, going through all the sign groups and looking at the tarot and astrology for something specific. Would you like to do that for Gemini season since it is a really important Gemini season?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, awesome. And let me just write here in the chat. We'll start with fire signs. So we'll look at the tarot and then the astrology for each of the elemental sign groups for this Gemini season.
Fire
And fire
signs.
signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius.
Two major arcana cards here.
Mm,
Um, okay, so uh, we have something around. I feel like even something for the fire signs where they're doing work with their soul, going back. into their relationship. It's so interesting, right? The Hierophant and the Chariot.
Right.
These both of these cards relate a lot to how we got educated, how we got schooled, how we got kind of introduced to
Mhm.
the rules of this world. And
Mhm.
it feels like for fire signs, this Gemini season, there's going to be a lot of going back to your roots and discovering where you got sort of pulled off onto, for a lot of people, it's when we started school. So there's
Right.
something about going back between the age of, it's interesting, we've even got 2 sevens here. So a lot of spiritual, I want to say soul retrieval work around going back to when you were school age, starting
Hmm.
school, the first couple of years of school. And I don't know why that's showing up. I mean, those are pretty powerful cards
Wow.
to have. So big soul work, I guess, is what I
Mhm.
want to say about this.
That is very interesting. So our fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sag, and I've got the chart up, whole sign chart up for the Aries, they have the sign of Gemini in their air houses. So for Aries, it's in their third house of Gemini. For Leo, it's in their 11th house of Aquarius. And for Sag, it's in their seventh house of Libra. So for the fire signs this Gemini season, it has a lot to do with their relationships. Interesting, Ashala, because the third house of Gemini is school, right? It's early school. And a lot of our friends, Aquarius, that we make perhaps come from school, whether that's our elementary school, our university, not all of them, but many of our friends come from school. Many of, or not many, how we do relationships and learn to do relationships, that first happens in school, in
Yeah.
kindergarten, with people outside our family. So that's a really interesting specific message that you're getting in regards to that
Mhm.
with the tarot. And I think for the fire signs, it's a great Gemini season to be catching up with friends, bringing even, like I'm hearing spirit say, friendship into the love relationships. Looking at your lover like a friend. How can you make it not just about the seriousness of having to have a perfect relationship or marriage? How can we make it more playful? How can we make it more Gemini? How can we make the relationships more fun? Right? I feel like that's what a lot of this Gemini season is about, Ashala, is like bringing in more fun and playfulness as well,
Yay.
which we need. Okay, fire signs. Now we'll go to our earth signs, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn.
Mhm. Okay, earth signs. Wow, this is so interesting. There feels like something similar with this.
Mm,
And it almost is even going back a little earlier. So I'm getting
wow.
another message about going back to childhood, which is curious.
Gemini
Um,
rules childhood. Sorry to interrupt you, Ashala. Gemini is one
okay.
of the signs that rules childhood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, we have taking time to go back to original feelings where you felt rejected or abandoned. And interesting, we have the 4 and the 5, so even earlier. So going into earlier, like preschool, age 4, 5, um,
Right.
especially anything related to your mother figure, because Queen of Cups
Mhm.
is she is the often relates to the feminine mother nurturer.
Mm.
So because we have here rest, retreat, gather, especially mentally, meditate. And then we
Mhm.
have the emotional nurture queen, which is
Mhm.
not super well aspected with these 2 cards on either side of her.
Right.
So a way that we've been hurt somehow by, and this is feeling rejected or abandoned at some point. So
Mm.
something to do with our relationship with our mother being um, hurt or abandoned and working on childhood stuff again. So that's curious.
Wow, that is very curious. And the Earth signs are having this Gemini season in their Earth houses. So for Tauruses, it's in the second house of Taurus. For Virgos, it's in the 10th house of Capricorn. And for Capricorns, it's in the sixth house of Virgo. So that it's making me think, Ashala, of like what happened in early childhood, the beliefs or information, Gemini, that we were given that affects our work, our income, our value around the work, right? The earth houses are about work, stability, income, self-worth, right?
Yeah,
Got
and
that 5
that
of Pentacles.
tentacles, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So it feels like this Gemini season, and also wherever we have Gemini, each of us personally in our signs, you guys, it's Gemini's insight and truth and common sense. It's like the earth signs are getting major truths and downloads and insights around work and income and your value. And like you're saying, Ashal, there's this big theme coming through around issues maybe from our childhood affecting why we're doing the things and operating the way we are now,
yeah.
right? Is it because our mom did that kind of job? Is it because our
Or
mom told?
left us at the daycare or at
Right,
the preschool or whatever, like a feeling of
right.
abandonment, or maybe our mothers felt like they weren't able to be present with us in a nurturing way because they were torn because they were working.
Mm,
Yeah, that just and it's curious even with this because this card can represent like minor sickness,
mhm,
colds and flus and stuff like that,
right.
and where we would get nurtured by our, you know, uh, mother or nurturing parental figure,
Mhm,
and it's just curious that that's there too. So something to do with how we, as you say, how we
right.
relate to work. What does work mean? And how does it
Mhm,
affect being nurtured and getting
yeah.
the care that we need?
Right, for sure. Beautiful, thank you, and wowzers, I love when we get the synchronicities. And air signs for Gemini season are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarians.
I'm curious, and I want to ask you when we're done this, Meg,
Yeah,
about retrogrades because I'm feeling like I'm hearing spirit say we're doing a lot of going into the past and reviewing
interest
or healing things.
Mhm,
So, uh,
definitely.
air signs.
Mhm,
Okay, well, this is interesting. This is even a Gemini card, you could call it,
okay,
because it's the twins, the
right.
lovers. Um, okay, interesting. Isn't that curious? That was like the two cards that came up right
Mhm,
at the beginning.
mhm,
Um, so this feels to me like it has to do with confidence. Again, we've got that vulnerability, the trust, and could be even connected a little bit to childhood here, a
wow.
little bit older, maybe, yeah, 6 years old, and, this often is about making our friends too, who we choose as our friends, um,
Mm,
and how we're seen by people. So feeling confident, feeling, trusting our friendships, feeling okay to be vulnerable, and also very curious, exploratory. We've got the explorer, we've got the friends, and well, it's friends and lovers choices, and we've
mhm,
got this feeling safe, feeling confident,
right.
trusting our relationships, trusting our friendships. So that's what I see for air signs.
Interesting. Well, the air signs are having Gemini season in the fire houses. Geminis have it in the first house of Aries. Libras have it in the 11th house of Aquarius, and Aquarians have it, sorry, in the ninth house of Sagittarius, and Aquarians have it in the fifth house of Leo. So for them, I'm hearing the word passion, inner child. Interesting, the fifth house is the inner child, right? And where can we bring more play? Where can we bring more life force? Where can we bring more fun, activity, passion, even romance? Interesting that you got the Lovers card, Ashala,
Mhm. The Lovers
right?
and the Three of Wands is can be exploring, trying new things, buffet sampler card, I used to call it. So
Mhm.
that's lovely.
That's really cool. So there you go, air signs. And last but not least, we've got our watery water signs.
Mhm. Gonna give one more for the water signs. One more
Yeah.
shuffle.
One more shuffle.
It's the alchemizing. When we shuffle, we are mixing the elements that are
Mm,
available there. And we're mixing them with our intentions, holding our intentions.
love that. Ooh.
Hmm.
Huh.
Okay, to me, this feels like carving out space. Eight of Cups is the vision quest. It's going on a kind of a retreat, taking a retreat. It is a water card,
Mhm.
and what it comes out of that is new inspiration. And I'm really reminded of this process, this psychological process where you have to kind of almost go into emptiness and void before inspiration can suddenly emerge, like you. And it was
Mhm.
so interesting what you were saying about taking that time to just relax, and
Right.
that something will ignite for you. Something will engage for you, water signs. So, but this Four of Pentacles is, it's almost like you have to carve out this time. You have to sort
Mm,
of um, batten down the hatches and say, okay, I'm going to just carve out some time and
mhm.
again, not take on too much more. So that is a theme for, it feels like, all the signs
Yeah.
this Gemini season is not trying to do a whole lot new.
Mm.
But in your quiet retreat time, contemplation time, water signs, inspiration is going to come to you.
Wow, I love that, Ashala, and makes a lot of sense because the water signs are having this Gemini season in the water houses. So they are going to be feeling the information overload and the busyness on the emotional, spiritual levels. Very, very sensitive. And the water signs, we already are very sensitive. And like I'm seeing the hermit card intuitively as well. Like I love that you just said batten down the hatches. The water signs are going to, you guys are going to need to be very mindful of how much information you're taking in during this time, even the socialization, because you can be noticing, even though Gemini is a great time to be doing socialization, you can be very, even more empathic to the people that you're spending time around at this time. While we're already processing so much as a collective. And our relationships, because Gemini is one of the relationship signs, can be a lot of clarity can be coming in through the relationships, through your dreams, through your intuitive feelings around people, right? Through your empathy. So that's interesting. Do you think that the water signs might be having to walk away from a relationship or a situation? Do you think that that might be part of the Eight of Cups or not so much?
I feel like they're going to need to walk away temporarily to
Yeah.
contemplate and
Yeah.
wait for the inspiration. Like, not, it's not going to come through the mind, which is so curious because Gemini is a lot about the mind, but it feels like it's going to, you're going to just sense the answer, and something is
Mhm.
going to activate as a result of your taking your retreat time.
The retreat
So
time.
mhm.
I love that. And something, even though Gemini typically is a very social sign, something that we can be doing during retreat time in Gemini season is writing, journaling, reading, right? Listening to uplifting podcasts or courses, or even you guys might think I'm nuts, but sometimes when I go on my walks or even when I'm cleaning around the house, I'll just talk myself through things, which is very Gemini. And I find there's a lot like people, if people ever heard me, they think I'm totally freaking nuts. But I get so much clarity from talking myself through things. I don't even know exactly how to explain it. But like today, I was talking out an idea I had that has to do with someone else, and I was talking it out like it was happening. And I was getting clarity around, "Oh, that would be cool if we did it that way," or "That would be cool if, that was a part of it." So, you can still be in the Gemini water signs even if it's more behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so interesting, the talking it out, and who needs AI to talk to? We have
Right.
our own, like, sounding board in a way
Right.
within, right? And,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it's not crazy to talk to ourselves. It's beautiful to like you said, to
Yeah.
hear it's hearing it outside of you. It's instead of it
Mhm.
just being in your own head.
Yeah, exactly. Love that. So, okay, everybody, very interesting messages for each of our signs. Ashala, we're getting to the hour mark here. Any closing remarks at this time before we finish up, or do you
Mhm,
feel complete?
mhm. Well, I feel I wanted to ask you about the retrogrades,
Oh,
Meg,
right. Sorry. Yeah, I
because
forgot about
I feel like there's something my my spider senses, my intuition, and also my Gemini-ness noticing. I'm like, it
Mm,
seems like we have the opportunity to take the time to review, remember, complete things from the past. I don't know
yeah.
why I'm feeling strongly about that right now.
How long have you been feeling that for?
Um, actually, probably since like March or April,
Wow.
like probably since we came back from the conference, it's
Mhm.
been growing, it's been building. And I've been hearing more and more people talking about, like, they're having memories of the past, and they have this feeling that
Right.
they need to go over what happened and see it from a new light, that they wanna
Mhm.
have a conversation with someone they haven't talked to for a long time, they wanna repair something, like, yeah, I don't know what that's about, but I suspect, like,
Mhm.
I was just wondering about retrograde planets.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So, we have Pluto retrograde at the moment, which is bringing up and I've been noticing, I don't know about you, Ashala, but I've been feeling like ever since this Pluto went retrograde, and I am a Scorpio, so that is my ruler, it's been very intense shadow work coming up with issues from the past.
Yeah.
And this is our first Pluto retrograde with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius fully from May 4th, that's just passed, until October 13th. And Aquarius has very much to do with freedom and liberation. So
Mm.
this Pluto retrograde, we've been going through the past 15 years Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Capricorn can be very stubborn and stuck in its ways, and that Pluto in Capricorn was very challenging. Pluto now in Aquarius is liberating us through shadow work, and retrogrades have to do with the past. So there's that, but I also feel like too there's the element with I think what you're feeling with the outer planets other than Pluto, the most outer other planets, Uranus and Saturn and Neptune around the time of the conference, they're all in the last degrees of the sign that they're in.
Oh,
And when planets are at the last degrees of the signs that they're in, like Saturn right now is at 29 degrees of Pisces. We're about to have Saturn enter Aries this Saturday. So we'll talk about that next week more in depth. In Pisces, which is the past, conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So there's actually quite a few things I think denoting to, and it's kind of trippy. We're stepping into very new territory and energies with Pluto and Aquarius and the outer planets moving into totally new signs in 2026, which is really rare to have all those guys moving into new signs in the same year. But at the same time, with the Pisces influence, with them being at the critical last degrees, it's like we're balancing the past and things that need to be completed with moving forward into the future and being open to new potentials and opportunities at the same time. It's like a interesting Gemini, both sides at the same time.
Isn't that confusing?
It is confusing. It
So
is confusing.
therefore, it wants to happen like, we want to make some space for those sudden bursts of, I don't know, I have a lot of emotion about what happened when I was 5 all of a sudden, or,
Yeah.
these shadow pieces could just suddenly, start emerging. And we want to create some spaciousness. Again, going back to this being the year of the wood snake, we are
Mm,
shedding these skins once and for all.
for all.
So it's worth creating a little extra space. And we go back to what I was talking about at the very beginning, where I was saying, I've got myself booked up right to the edge of my capacity.
Right.
That's not going to work for me going forward into
Mm,
this Gemini season, because we need to have space to
yes.
suddenly go back, recover something from the past, have a process, have a bit of a personal retreat, take that moment, that time. So I
Mhm.
feel it is very, very valuable. And,
Mm,
it's almost like, if this is new earth and we are stepping into this, we want to be our full selves. We want all of us there. We don't want to leave shadow parts and broken parts that we're going to bring them unconsciously with us
right.
to the new paradigm. And then they're going to start to tamper with our progress there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of that sort of work, background
Mhm.
work, in order to be really ready to
Yeah,
step forward. Yeah.
definitely. Wow, it's a lot. It is a lot that we are going through, Ashala, but we're getting through it. And Gemini is also like, and I know I said this a couple times already, we can have fun through it. It's a fun
Mm.
sign. It's a playful sign. It's a mischievous sign, right? Look at famous Geminis. President Trump, Russell Brand, so many comedians are Geminis,
Yeah.
right? People that don't take themselves so seriously and look at the fun side of life. So we can have fun through the shedding and the moving forward, right? I think it's going to be lighter than the Taurus season we just came from big time. So I'm excited about that.
And what you said about having fun even during the heavy stuff,
Yeah.
again, it is that, Gemini's not just being superficial or cavalier about it all. It is that, well, this too shall pass, because we've got all that perspective, that big
Hmm.
picture perspective. And we're always seeing, yeah, and at any moment, 10 of those items that are in the side wing could pop
Right.
into reality, and this whole thing could change. So there
Hmm.
is a little bit of lightheartedness even in the heaviest stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't mean that we don't recognize the seriousness, the
Hmm.
heaviness of it, but there's something about having that bigger vision of how synchronicity, the way it's all woven together, and the great mystery of that too.
Yeah. I love that you just said that piece of Shala because I almost forgot something that I felt, which is pretty much what you just said. Being open because as new information is coming in, a lot of information and facts grounded in common sense and the reality of what's going on, the plans might change, right? And the plans might totally change, right?
Mhm.
So there's a part there where that might be challenging, but again, having fun through that because life has twists and turns, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's not
Um,
something we have to brace ourselves against. It's again, like, if you keep integrating information and refreshing yourself, but also what I'm hearing is, Geminis they refresh the screen a lot, but they never empty the trash,
oh,
because it's like, well, you may And what I mean, more around like on a computer, right? You may need
Mhm.
that information down the road. It might be relevant.
Yeah.
So it's having faith that your perspective as you've gathered, like all of our, community on the Beyond Mystic channel are people
Mhm.
who've gathered so much incredible information. And
Right.
look at the perspective that you've built, and it's growing and growing. I bet you never thought that you could have such a grand worldview, awareness, big picture overview, and be able to hold all that in your heart. It's
Mhm.
so powerful, so beautiful. And then we get to discern, like Jens's workshop, and we get to
Right.
navigate through all that, noticing the patterns and knowing there's always
Mhm.
going to be more information coming.
Yeah. Love that. Thank you so much, Ashala, for another amazing As Above, So Below show. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. And before we finish up here, we want to mention that Carla at Ascension Organites has a Father's Day giveaway sale. You can go check this out at ascensionorganites.com, valid until June 15th, and the winners will be announced on June 17th. So she says, let's celebrate the divine masculine. Spend $75 or more is one entry to the giveaway. Sign up to the newsletter is a bonus entry for a chance to win a custom Organite pyramid and more prizes. Very, very fun. So you can use code Father's Day for 25% off. That is absolutely amazing. Thank you, Carla, for that. And also, what have we got going tomorrow on the schedule, Ashala? We've got, of course, the Daily Astro Show for Wednesday and Thursday with me, Jens's Expanding Consciousness, and Beyond the News with JC and Janine. So, guys, stay tuned for that. You can go check out our readings over at the link in the description box below, consultations.beyondmystic.net. Ashala does amazing psychic tarot readings. Go check it out if you have not checked it out yet. And we will see you all next week for another edition of As Above, So Below. Thank you, Ashala. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Meg.
Bye.